Dear friends in the Dhamma, today, let's talk about something that has touched every heart, stirred every soul, and at some point left us questioning everything: love, desire, and the path to true freedom. In Buddhism, we have the 5 precepts, simple yet profound guidelines for a life of wisdom and compassion. The third one often raises eyebrows. Kamesu michakara veraman sikapadam samadhyami. I undertake the training to refrain from sexual misconduct. Now, before you think, oh no, another rule? Let me ask you this. Do rivers need rules to reach the ocean? No, they flow naturally when there are no obstructions. This precept isn't about restriction. It's about clarity. It's about freedom, freedom from suffering. So let's go deeper. What does this really mean? The illusion of pleasure. One of life's greatest illusions is the illusion of desire. Have you ever been so thirsty that you drank too much water, only to feel bloated and uncomfortable? Lust is like drinking salt water. The more you indulge, the thirstier you become. It never satisfies. How many people have mistaken lust for love, and when that attraction fades, what remains? If the foundation was only desire, nothing is left but emptiness. But love, true love, is different. Love does not chain. Love does not wound. Love is not possession. Let me ask you, have you ever had your heart broken? Have you ever felt that unbearable ache when someone you loved walked away? That's not love. That's attachment, and attachment always leads to suffering. Many people ask, what does Buddhism mean by sexual misconduct? It's simple. Any act that brings suffering to yourself or another. It's not about judgment. It's about wisdom. It's not about prohibition. It's about liberation. If your actions come from greed, deceit, or harm, then it is misconduct. If your love is based on trust, respect, and honesty, then it does not bind you. It sets you free. But here's the deeper truth. Desire is not just in the body. The real desire is in the mind. You can be celibate and still burn with lust inside. You can be outwardly faithful and still be unfaithful in your thoughts. True purity is not about avoiding acts. True purity is about understanding. If you love with wisdom, you will not cause harm. If you love with mindfulness, you will not break hearts. If you love with detachment, you will not suffer when love changes, and everything changes. The tale of Sudaka the merchant. Desire is not in the body, it is in the mind. And the mind can turn a simple breeze into a storm. In the ancient city of Rajagriha, there lived a wealthy merchant named Sudaka. He had everything: gold beyond measure, a beautiful wife, and the respect of the people. Yet within him, a hidden fire burned. One evening, as he strolled through the marketplace, he saw a dancer performing in the square. Her movements were fluid as water, her laughter like bells in the wind. Desire coiled inside him. Though he had a wife who loved him dearly, his mind was already betraying her. I have not touched her, Sudaka told himself. I have not spoken a word. What harm is there in desire if it stays in the mind? That night, his wife, Ahalya, noticed his distant eyes. Husband, she said gently, you are here, but your heart is elsewhere. Sudaka scoffed. I have done nothing wrong. She smiled, but her eyes were sad. Not all unfaithfulness is done with the hands. The visit to the master troubled. Sudaka sought the wisdom of an old Buddhist monk named Bhavayan. Master, he asked, if a man sees a beautiful woman and desires her but does not act, is he still guilty of misconduct? Bhavayan chuckled and pointed to a clay cup before him. Drink this, he said. Sudaka picked it up and took a sip. He gagged. It is bitter. The monk nodded. And yet you did not swallow. But did it not still leave a taste? Sudaka lowered his gaze. Desire in the mind, Bhavayan continued, is like an ember beneath dry grass. Even if you do not touch the flame, it can still burn down a forest. That night, Sudaka returned home. He looked into Ahalya's eyes, not with guilt but with clarity. The 5 poisons of lust, when blind, leads only to suffering. Here are 5 ways it deceives us. Lust without wisdom. Like a moth flying into a flame, attraction without understanding leads to pain. Lust without respect. If you desire someone but do not honor their soul, you are not loving them, you are using them. Lust without truth. If your love is built on lies, it will crumble like a sandcastle against the tide. Lust without mindfulness. If you let lust control your actions, you will awaken in a storm of regret. Lust without detachment. If you cling to a person believing they will make you whole, you are setting yourself up for suffering. Nothing outside of you can complete you. When we see these poisons clearly, we begin to free ourselves. The ocean of love. A man once came to a monk and said, "Master, I am in love, but I suffer." "Why?" The monk smiled and said, "Because you have mistaken possession for love. Love is not chains. Love is wings. The love that clings is not love. The love that demands is not love. Real love is like the ocean, vast, open and free. It does not seek to own, it seeks to give. When we walk the path of Dhamma, we learn to love without attachment, to desire without harming, to be with someone without losing ourselves. The greatest love is not about taking. The greatest love is about letting go. Living the 3rd precept. So, how do we live this precept? Not by avoiding, not by repressing, but by understanding. We learn to see clearly. We learn to love wisely. We learn to live in such a way that no one suffers because of us. Sexuality is not the enemy. Ignorance is. Desire is not the enemy. Clinging is. If you truly want to love, let your love be like the moon, soft, gentle, and illuminating, because in the end, love is not what you hold. Love is what you free. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May your love be boundless. And may your heart be as pure as the moonlight. Until next time, walk the path of wisdom and love with a heart full of freedom.